Hello and welcome. You're watching Business Today Television. I'm Sakshi Patra. With me is Shail Bhatnagar, and this is Market Today, a show where we'll help you understand the closing action on the day's trade. If you look at the Nifty, it's a 67 point of an uptick that you spot, 23,390. Nothing moved much in case you look at just the plain levels between when we ended the morning show and we are beginning the closing show. Now it's almost status quo on the Nifty. Nifty Bank, however, has slipped slightly into the red, about a 40 points lower in trade at 49,856 odd, and it is the private banks and the PSU banks, both of them which are exerting some pressure. Some of the other sectors which are still lower are FMCG from the morning trade, but even the metals are pulling themselves lower. What is holding up is realty, consumer goods, consumer durables, as well as the IT space that's holding up strong in trade. The top movers on the Nifty right now in the closing hour are HDFC Life, Shriram Finance, Divis Laboratories, Titan, L&T, M&M and LTI Mindtree. On the lower side, you do have stocks like HUL, iShares, Britannia, SBI Life, ICICI and Axis Bank as those top drags at this point in time. But it's several other pockets that are buzzing, including sugar. Good afternoon, Shail.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are on the weekly expiry of the Nifty, it being Thursday. So trade started with the bank, and then it lapsed into filling up the gap. Remember, there was a 100 point gap up that had happened, and immediately after the first 5 minutes, the gap started to get filled. The high for today was 23,480, and from then on we tested something like 23,350, 130 point gap down test, and then of course it's a sideways zone. Sakshi, what's really interesting is that if you see the monthly expiry options data on the Nifty at 23,500, the writers have barely moved. In fact, they've added more resistance at 23,500, seeing this early morning rejection of that particular level. So things are just not looking as good for bulls as they were looking in the morning, and that's absolutely borne out by the data that you see in the top traded counters. Today's top traded counter, can you believe, is Oracle Finance. It was up 10% just a moment ago, just 1,840 crores worth of transactions. While this is very good news for shareholders of Oracle, but for general market observers like you and me and Kunal, this is bad news, because when the market was about to break into an all-time high, none of the index heavyweights contributed. The second top active counter is Indigo, 0.5% lower, 1,600 crores. So there is absolutely zero participation coming in terms of price and volume. And then you have HDFC Bank. Third most active counter is HDFC Life. So aap kya kijiye? Everybody is just waiting for this, long weekend to pass, Sakshi. Nobody is interested in taking an options trade. Nobody is interested in taking a long position, because Monday is a holiday, and of course, tomorrow will be a day ahead of the weekend. So everything is absolutely quiet. What has barely started to move is parts of the parts of the PSU set of stocks, and of course there is absolutely no stopping the four defense PSUs. You have Cochin Shipyard doing pretty well, 3% higher. Garden Reach is 6% higher. Mazgaon is 3% higher. BDL is 2% higher. So that's a good theme that is coming in, and of course across the board, sugar stocks and sugar ancillary stocks are doing phenomenally well. Mawana Sugars is up 11%. Bajaj Hindustan is up 13%. KCP Sugar 11%. Sri Renuka 10%. All these because we have seen that agri-based trade running very well across the markets, and we'd failed to mention Praj Industries and of course ISJEC. So these are these are sugar ancillaries, and across the board you see a very, very nice decent run up happening across the board as far as select PSUs are concerned, defense and sugar. That's what's clicking. All the other indices are actually on the back foot. Nifty Bank is in the red, mainly because of HDFC Bank and ICICI Bank. No movement there. And of course IT has also come down from its early morning peak. It was up 450 points, it's now up just 274. So that's what's happening in the broader markets. Advanced decline also slipping closer to meeting point. We started with 1800 advances in the morning. They are now just left at 1400. Declines were about 218. Those declines are now, Sakshi, 944. So that's how bears have caught up with the sentiment on Dalal Street ahead of a long holiday, and of course next to zero participation at record high levels. I believe Kunal Rambia, founder of the Streets, is with us. Good afternoon to you, Kunal, and a very warm welcome. How do you see a couple of stocks outperforming the broader markets? Any names that you could share?
Good afternoon, Shel sir. Good afternoon to all our viewers. So yes, as you were rightly mentioning that indices are not doing much and they are actually in the sideways consolidation. A couple of counters are doing really good, and one of them is of course HDFC Life, which I like the most. The entire, in fact, the entire insurance space is looking attractive to me. If you look at specifically HDFC Bank, HDFC Life, look at the overall formation right from the inception so far. The counter was clearly in an uptrend itself. Recently, on the daily chart, it made a clear double bottom formation, and today's volume are almost highest in the entire year so far. Similar volume we saw somewhere in July and June 2023. It's almost after a year we are witnessing the same kind of volume. I think it's done with the bottom for now. Any decline till around 585, 580 can be a good buying opportunity. I think breakout will be above 605. We can expect a complete turnaround. So yeah, now we have to focus mainly on the selected counters. Broader markets might just continue in sideways, as you rightly mentioned, for the longer weekends.
Okay. Good afternoon, Kunal. Thanks a lot for tuning in. What about the key momentum stocks like sugar, for example? There is this entire buzz that there could be an MSP hike and therefore the entire space is on buzz with action. Many of the stocks are up almost 12-13%. Sri Renuka up 11.3%. Don't even remember when was the last time when there was such a sharp spike on Sri Renuka like that. 5.7% higher for Dhampur, Balrampur, all across the move. You do see a very, very strong move. How are you really looking at it? And is this the right time to take a dip for all of those momentum investors?
Sakshi, as you rightly said, yes, we don't even know when this kind of move happened in the past. But let's dive deep into the historical data and check out how the counters behave. Let's take an example of Dhampur Sugar because that's something which I'm tracking very closely. So, May 2021, the counter gave a breakout of 200 levels, and since then, this counter has tested 200 mark almost 7 times. Just last week itself, if you check out the low, the counter made a low of around 190 and the closing was again near to 220, and see the counter today it's at 250. But in this last 3 years, the counters have not really done much. It's just near to the support. It comes, it bounces from that level, it goes up by around 50 odd percent, comes back to the same level again. So yes, almost all counters have been in the same formation. Trend is sideways to positive. If someone wants to trade on the momentum, it's definitely yes. It's a thumbs up to buy any counter. Let it be Dhampur or Balrampur. I'm comfortable with these two counters. Dhampur we can think of buying near 245. The stop loss can be around 235 and the targets can be around 275 to 280. And when it comes to Balrampur, again, that counter is more or less in the sideways consolidation, giving breakout. One can initiate a buy at the present level itself. The stop loss can be 420 and the targets can be 500 kind of levels. These are purely momentum trades, not to stay invested for a long period of time in these counters unless the new rally emerges.
Okay, momentum trades right there. Are there any other momentum based pockets that you're tracking apart from sugar right ahead of budget? Has anything come on your radar which you will be incrementally watching out for now?
So yeah, the second space is a fertilizer space where I'm getting a lot of comfort. There are specifically two names. The first is an NFL. Now I have been discussing this counter since quite a long time with our channel actually. Like look at the entire formation. Sideways consolidation. We saw the breakout just 4 days back, and that breakout was at around 108. It's been 4 days. The counter is sustaining about it. Good volumes are happening on it. I think at 113.5, one can definitely think of buying. The positional stop loss on this can be 95, and the positional target can be 145 to 150. And the second is Coromandel International. Again, this counter is up by around 2%, 1.5% in today's trade. The counter is in absolute strong trend. Buy on dip can be a good approach for Coromandel because of risk reward ratio is unfavorable at the peak. I think near to 14, 25, 14, 30, one can think of buying. The stop loss can be 1300 and the targets can be as high as 1650 to 1700.
Okay, Sakshi, finally there is some interest in the market, and that's because of Garden Reach shipbuilders. You've got a very, very nice bounce coming in, already about 280 crores worth of transactions done. The counter's up 5%. This 280 crores is higher than the 5-day average that's traded. Let's get our friend Kunal to comment about it. 1470, and let me just add another tadka to this, Sakshi. We've seen a stock split in Cochin Shipyard. We've seen a stock split in Hindustan Aeronautics, ditto for BDL, and what I'm not saying is the most important part. If you check out how they have raised the authorized capital, you will realize what I have not said but will happen. With that background in mind, Kunal, where is Garden Reach headed?
See, Shell sir, look at the entire formation again from March bottom till now. March 2024, the counter was at around 680, and since then a clear higher top, higher bottom formation. There was a massive gap up actually somewhere on 23rd of May, and the counter was up by around almost 20% kind of. In the recent correction on this 4th and 5th of June, the gap was filled, and again the trend continued. So yeah, it's a perfect trending counter. One can think of buying at the present level also. Now here we'll have to keep little away stop loss. That's going to be 1300. That's almost 170 points from the present level. But by any chance, if the counter manages to cross 1500 mark, then I think the levels till 1750 are also open. It's a perfect trending counter and a thumbs up, even for a short term to medium term trading point of view.
Okay. And just a data point I'd like to mark. The highest is 1474, something that we had seen on 25th of May. Any move beyond that, Sakshi, that will be very, very interesting. Hindustan Aeronautics has reclaimed 5,000 rupees again, 5,022, 2.6% higher. BEL is 1.85% higher to 96. And of course, Cochin Shipyard, one of the highest beta counters, 1971. This is about 3.5% higher. How can Mazgaon be left behind? 33.15 and about 4% higher as far as prices are concerned. So this is the entire PSU pack, all 5 of them that are doing very well. You can add 2.72% gain on BDL. And of course, BML is doing pretty well. So all 6 counters in the green as far as defense is concerned from the PSU basket, and even outside the PSU basket, but within defense, premium explosions. You have a green tick on Zentech, and stocks such as Paras Defense up 6%, Astra Micro up 4.5%. Sakshi, what are you watching?
Whole host of other stocks as well moving in tandem. Let's see from the broader markets. Of course, there are several stocks which are in double-digit moves. So apart from the sugar space, it is KIOCL that is up by about 11% in trade today. We also have, apart from sugar stocks, Premier Explosives. That's another one that's been continuing to move up higher. Then you also have Harrison Malayalam. So some tea stocks as well coming back, tea coffee stocks coming back in flavor as well. Commodity space stocks, so I believe it's not just sugar, it's the entire farm and agri space stocks that are actually buzzing in trade. So let's ask Kunal that apart from sugar, what are the other agri-based stocks that you're looking at? Would it be, some tea, coffee stocks also on your radar as well? Would you also have some other maybe feed stocks, farm and feed stocks also, which could be in the offing? Because, again, the budget will have some or the other announcements within this respect as well.
Yes, actually, my universe of tracking beyond this is very limited, but yeah, I track Harrison Malayalam very closely. Now, again, the only reason being this counter is clearly in a trending mode. It's been December 2023 where the counter made a high of around 190. Post that, the first high was on 22nd of Feb, that was around 215, and counter was struggling near 200 mark itself. In today's trade, it's up by around 20%. It's in upper circuit and it is crossing 200 map again with huge volumes. So I'm very bullish on this counter. Honestly, now today we won't be able to buy this counter because in upper circuit it's locked in upper circuit. But I think tomorrow, if we get an opportunity, then with the stop loss of 185, one can think of initiating a buy. and the positional target can be 245 to 250 on Harrison Malayalam.
Okay. And apart from this, of course, it's back to the other story, which is infra, construction, housing, realty space. That's a buzz with action, 2% higher in trade. And all the stocks are actually sharply higher in trade. Macrotech, of course, is leading the move. Sobha, of course, in the morning we tracked. Both are 5% higher. Godrej Properties, Prestige, Brigade, DLF. Can one still take an entry into this one, this entire space of real estate? And where would you be comfortable?
Yeah, Sakshi, again, these counters are absolutely trending counters, and one can definitely think of initiating buy at every level. But again, when the counter is in trend, rather than buying when the markets are crazily up, we should be waiting for a cool kind of a cool off so that we get a favorable risk reward ratio again. So I have my comfort with Godrej Property. Look at the counter, it's at 52 weeks high. It's trading near 3022. By any chance, if the counter manages to come near 2850 to 2900, I think that will be the comfort zone. One can initiate a buy at that time, and the trailing stop loss then can be 2600. And let's not keep the target on these counters, let them rally comfortably. These are wealth creating ideas one can hold for in the portfolio for a long period of time also.
Okay, I think we have possibly the chance of a record close on Garden Reach today. Remember, this will be the first defense stock to recover from what was the sell-off that happened during the last week of voting, as also voting day and subsequent the exit poll and so on and so forth. So from a low of about say maybe 1175 that was seen on 5th of June, we've moved all the way to 1472. The all-time closing high is 1471. Any move above that will be a record close. Similarly, Sakshi, the charts on PNB housing continue to get overstretched. That is something that needs to be looked. It's rallied for about 7 days in a row. Therefore, it's a bit difficult to follow. I think let's get Kunal's view in on Mazgaon Dock. This is something which is doing pretty well. Again, 3377. The all-time high for this counter is 3332. So about 20-30 rupees still below that. But both shipbuilders, Mazgaon Dock and Garden Reach, no stock splits here. So that's a hint for you to look at. But Kunal, Mazgaon Dock.
Still, sir, almost all defense sectors counters are looking almost similar in formation. We saw a massive dip on 4th of June. It was a linear decline and a V-shaped recovery was again witnessed, and almost all the counters reclaimed the level on 6th of June. And since then, they were in sideways consolidation. We are witnessing the breakout today. And that breakout might just lead the counters to all-time high. So Mazgaon Dock previous high was somewhere near to 3485, I guess. I think now 3500 is very likely on cards. One can initiate a buy with the stop loss of 3200 on this, which is the today's low itself. And the targets can be 3500. And again, request to all our viewers that if you initiate a buy, just make sure to trail the stop loss. We don't need 5 stocks to make wealth actually. Just a couple of counters which are trending in nature can help us to make that. So learn the art of trailing the stop loss, hold such positions. I think good rally is coming in again, almost all the defense space counters.
Absolutely. Once they take out the previous highs, ladies and gentlemen, a new phase for these defense stocks will begin, because then the rally will be the starting point of Modi 3.0, and more importantly, it will be ahead of the budget. So most of these stocks in the defense space are also looking at what the defense outlay will be, and within defense outlay, how much will be the capital expenditure marked for buying weapons. So that's the reason why you see this rally. It's an absolute no-brainer that you'll see Hindustan Aeronautics taking out 5400, 5500. That was the previous record high, maybe tomorrow or somewhere on Tuesday. Remember, the budget as of now is fixed for July 8th, and before that you have these run-ups happening in sugar, paper, fertilizer, all these stocks on expectations of higher allocations. Hindustan Aeronautics 5081, it's just taking it away 4% higher. It might feel bad if we don't take a view on Hindustan Aeronautics, Kunal. So over to you.
Sure, sir. Again, the best counter, in fact, in the entire space right now is this counter. First mover in today's move, and the breakout was at around 4,925. And see, it's trading at 5,100 kind of levels, 5,085 kind of levels. One can initiate a buy even at present level. 5,040 will be the trailing stop loss, and the targets can be 5,350 levels.
Okay. Got that. Well, we'll also look at some more stocks that are buzzing in trade apart from the defense space, and I will look at the gaming space and the casino space now. Let's look at Delta Corp. Sharp move in trade today. It almost went up almost 8 odd percent. Now it's trading around 6.5 odd percent high, 5.5% high in trade. But there's a big spike that has come in. Let's also check whether anything has also translated into a move on Nazara Technologies, since both of these stocks are almost seen in tandem and together. There was a spike and then it's coming down after that sharp spike. Delta Corp now 128. Nazara Tech, let's also pull up that stock. Meanwhile, we'll ask Kunal to give us his view. No, Nazara is still lower. So it's all about Delta Corp. Let me fish out if there is any kind of news. But Kunal, how are you looking at this stock after a long haul? There is this sharp spike on this one.
See, honestly, I was very comfortable with Nazara somewhere in the February and March, but then we eventually gave up because the counter turned into a complete downtrend and it just broke all the supports. Similarly, was the case with Delta Corp. It was in consistent downtrend, but today is the first day again. This counter is coming out of the broader negative consolidation from March so far. That breakout zone is 125. Counter is already trading at 128. I am just waiting for the counter to give a decisive close. Now, how do we define the decisive close in technicals? Is closing near the high and a follow through buying. If that happens, I think a good bargain buying opportunity might just turn up in Delta Corp. Then with the stop loss of 120, one can think of initiating a buy. But the conditions are very simple. Today's close should be near to high and tomorrow should be a follow through buying for me to shortlist this counter for buying. And this can be a complete turnaround because on daily chart, we can see a falling wedge formation on Delta Corp. So I'm extremely bullish. I'm just waiting for 2 more confirmations and then it will be a good to go for the portfolio counter.
Okay, got that. So we'll continue to keep an eye out on Delta Corp and see whether the worst is behind it and it may turn out to be a turnaround story or not. And we will come back with more details on that. And Kunal will also help us check this counter in the future days as well. But we'll keep an eye out on this one. The other one is the top mover on the Nifty right now. It's climbed up sharply. Shriram Finance 4% higher. No let up in this stock since the time it got an entry into Nifty, and today is the first time when the counter has seen a market cap of 1 lakh crore rupees being crossed as well. Shriram Finance 2671. Let's pull up the long term charts. Let's pull up 1 month, 3 months, 6 months charts as well to see how the stock has really moved up. 2671. For Shriram Finance, it's 104 rupees higher in trade today. A 1 month chart shows you a 14.6% move. Let's also look at a 3 months and a 6 months chart of Shriram Finance. 3 months it's 18 odd percent and a 6 months chart, let's look at that too. And to see, yes, it's a 30% kind of a move. Large part has actually come in over the last 1 month odd or so. Shriram Finance, how would you look at this stock, Kunal?
So again, Sakshi, Shriram Finance made the high of around 2600 somewhere in April. And since then, it was in sideways consolidation. It attempted the breakout even during May, but it was a failure. And today, it's successfully giving the breakout with volumes. So yes, it's a perfect buy. Someone who wants to play on the all-time high, this can be a perfect candidate. Initiate a buy at the present level. The stop loss will be 2580. That's almost 90 points away from the level. But yeah, the targets can also be equally higher. That's 2950 to 3000 levels now.
Okay.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have now about 36 minutes left for trade. Let's get back to what is the sweetest part of the market, which is sugar. Remember, we started yesterday's show with a stock pick on Balrampur Chini at about 416 rupee levels. A smart move is coming up again at about day's high 439. Kunal, what is the chart of Balrampur Chini telling you? Open interest is also up about 1.6%, but this is of course a sectoral play, and perhaps within the sector a very fine balance sheet.
Sure, sir. That's what we discussed. That I'm very comfortable with Balrampur and Dhampur. Dhampur just started from the extreme low levels. Balrampur has already given 3 days move, but the strength is really very high. So yes, with the stop loss of 420, which was the earlier breakout point, one can initiate a buy. One can think of even accumulating this counter if it comes to 428 level. Stop loss in both the cases will remain the same. That's 420 on the closing basis, and the first target can be 475, and above that it can reach up to 500 levels.
Okay, even if you look at the delivery patterns for this counter, it was 2x higher on Wednesday compared with Tuesday, and of course even now it's trading well above the volume weighted average price by about 2.1%. So with these things in mind, and of course the tailwind in the sugar sector, Balrampur Chini looks to be a good place to be in as far as prices are concerned. And it's actually one more stock that we haven't discussed for a very, very long time is Gujarat Gas. This is one of those stocks that should do well over the next year or so. It's already breached 628. This is a record high, I believe. Just let me recheck. Yes, this is a record high that is there in front of me. My apologies, I'm seeing the wrong chart. But Kunal, Gujarat Gas for you.
Yes, sir. Attractive counter again. We saw the similar high on Feb 5th, 2024. The high was around 620. Today, counter has managed to surpass that high of 620. Now we just have to wait for tomorrow's closing because I'm referring to weekly charts. So tomorrow's closing is gonna be important. Closing above 620 will open the door till around 730, which were the previous high during 2022, and 2021 high, which is 750. So these two can be the targets provided tomorrow's closing is above 620 itself. One can initiate a buy today also with a condition that if it manages to sustain, then we'll hold the position. Otherwise, one can spare off the position tomorrow. Weekly closing is important, but yeah, it's a clear thumbs up on this too.
Okay. So the price that you see 630 was last observed on February 22. So that's a breakout of 2 years and 4 months. That's 24 plus 4, 28 months. Give me a day, I'll figure out a good research report to tell you about Gujarat Gas, but this is something that will cross the previous high, or at least some part of the market thinks that way. The previous high was 782, that was last seen in August 21. So with that background in mind, let's now mark Sakshi Cochin Shipyard. I think very, very soon you will see a digit change on Cochin to 2000 rupees. Will that be an all-time high? No, it will not be an all-time high, but it will again begin the process of going above its previous high, which was 2105. Kunal, my apologies to bother you. We've checked Garden Reach, we've checked Mazgaon, we've checked Hindustan Aeronautics, and Cochin Shipyard is saying you can't do this to me.
So absolutely, Shell sir, 4 days consolidation breakout at 1950. Today counter is now trading at 1990. One can certainly initiate a buy. The stop loss will be today's low, that's 1900, and two previous highs. First was of 27th May and the second was of around 3rd of June. The high was 2100. That can be the first immediate target. Above that, the target can be 2300 also.
Okay, got that. So that's the view coming in on Cochin as well. So that's the kind of buzz that we are looking at. What about consumer durables? Are you buying this kind of a move that's coming in, Kunal? Today, a slew of them are doing positively. In fact, Dixon Technology is at a fresh high as well. 5% higher. That stock is moving strongly. Titan is up and about. Voltas, V-Guard, they're again making a comeback after the summer rally that we had seen in a lot of these stocks, and then they lied low for a bit. Anything that this momentum could be chased for?
I will not really be comfortable, Sakshi, chasing these counters at so peak levels, as we discussed earlier also. Whenever there is a correction, and now let's take an example of Dixon and compare this with the technical formations of this with defense. The defense counters are still near to the levels of 6th June, where Dixon was. Dixon was trading that time at 9,700. Today it's at 10,800. So technically, I'll go with the counters where I'm getting stop loss very close to the present levels. I will not be comfortable chasing these counters at all time high. Rather, I'll wait for them to also cool off a bit and then initiate a buy again. So, but for now, I'll avoid this space only because the risk reward ratio is unfavorable. If someone is holding the counter, with certainly with a trailing stop loss, one can comfortably hold on.
Okay, got that. Well, we'll thank you, Kunal, for being with us on this show then at this point
Thank
in
you so
time and
much.
sharing with us all those wonderful ideas. We'll hope that you come back very soon to discuss some more
Pleasure,
insights. And
man.
of course, I will
Thank you
be
so much.
looking at the next view on Delta Corp after you study it for a few more days as well. Let's again welcome our other guest now joining in. On the show with us is Mr. Sharad Avasti, Head of Research at SMIFS. Sharaji, warm welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time out. Well, I should say that the last 10 days we've actually seen everything that we could have perhaps seen in the markets: a bull phase, a bear phase, nervousness, excitement, fear, everything all together within just these 10 days. What next now in the markets? Where are you giving, are the water settled, and do you think now there is enough and more clarity as to where to put fresh money?
I think the clarity was always there where to put in fresh money. We were betting on both sides. If the markets did go up too much, we would have booked some profits. And as the markets did correct, we used the opportunity to buy the dip in some stocks where we are already tracking. So I think that's the strategy you need to continue with. Get out of pockets where there is too much hype. Like you were recently talking about Dixon and stories like this, which are trading at what, 50 times 3 year forward. Uh, Great to have stories like that. There could be opportunities in the stories, but I think obviously in such heated up stories, you get opportunities. So try to getting out of stories which are too heated up and get into stories which have a valuation comfort. And I don't think we are going down anytime soon. But yes, even with this coalition government, there are a lot of rumors on both sides as to what coalition will take shape again and again and again. So I think those rumors will keep happening, but more or less, I think it's a stable government right now we are looking at, and most probably we will run through a full 5 year term. But the rumors market is pretty hot right now, and it could lead to some volatility in the market. So be prepared for some volatility. We are not in the cheapest of valuations, but I think the type of quarterly earnings that are expected, maybe Q1 remains a bit subdued because of the BFSI space, particularly banks. But beyond that, I think gradually post Q2, the monsoon picture will be clear. Rural India is picking up. So you will see gradual pockets improving here and there. So take a bet on companies where you're comfortable with valuations at this point in time, and they offer some growth over the next, 1.5, 2 years. So I think those companies should still do very well.
Good afternoon to you, Sharadji, and a very warm welcome. We've been looking forward to greet you on Business Today for a couple of days, and here you are. Your cautious approach to stock picking at a time when markets perhaps gave an opportunity to come back in. I'm sure you would have added something around 21,000 on the Nifty. Any couple of names that you could share in the stocks that you've added?
Dalmia, Bharat, L&T, these are stories we have added. Naveen, we have had for some time, something like a UPL or an HDFC Bank. I think these are broadly 4 or 5 frontline ideas that I think are very well placed in terms of valuation comfort. Though HDFC and UPL haven't really done much over the last 1.5, 2 years, so to say. But I think gradually the tide is turning in favor of these companies, so most probably they would perform very well. Dalmia Bharat, I've obviously spoken with you a couple of times earlier also. I think that's an excellent story in terms of the type of growth they are doing. From 40, 41 MTPA, they want to scale it up to 70, 75 MTPA over the next 3, 4 years, and that's a very credible growth. Last 4, 5 years, they've grown at a very decent rate. The only headwind for cement, could be the petcoke prices, which seem to be rallying higher again. So that's a problem. But otherwise, other than that, I think broadly for cement, the broader ecosystem is very much in place, and we have a lot of valuation comfort in Dalmia Bharat at current valuations. So I think that's a good story to bet on. And HDFC UPL, obviously, very gung-ho about the type of opportunities that can come up in terms of number-wise, what improvement UPL can clock in, synergy benefits for HDFC Bank. And for L&T, I think again there is a lot of valuation comfort compared to something like a Siemens or an ABB, even for that matter, BHAL. So I think L&T is a very good story, and they are into everything from 3D building, defense, and these are areas which could grow at a very rapid rate for them. And the core business, the EPC business, etc., would continue to grow. A lot of the valuation is also coming in from the IT holdings. So actually, more or less, you are holding a mutual fund when you hold L&T. And if the Hyderabad Metro divestment thing does go through, I think that would be a very positive for them as well. So I think there are multiple triggers working in favor of LT, within which I think in the short term, maybe the IT rally could help them with LTTS and LTIM valuations clocking up. And in the second phase, I think as defense and other ancillary businesses that the company is into start happening, and post elections, most probably even the construction activity will gain momentum. So all in all, I think current valuations L&T seems like a no-brainer to me.
Okay, I got four stocks. May I just repeat the name so that you can confirm and add those that I have missed? This is a list of stocks that you've purchased in the most recent downturn, maybe added to existing positions. They are UPL and Naveen Fluorine in the agri-chemicals and chemical space. In the cement space, you prefer Dalmia Bharat Cement. Larsen in the capital goods space because it offers a better valuation than maybe Siemens, and HDFC Bank. Have I missed out a name?
No, it's largely there. Everything's more or less correct.
Okay, so these are 5 stocks that you added. We'll add it to your list of deep value stocks which we've been maintaining. Let me just tell you which are the stocks that you've mentioned to us earlier, so that we are on the right page. This was Responsive Industries, 321 today. I think Gulf Oil as well. Then we have from you Polyplex, and one more, I think Sheela Foam. So these are the 4 or 5 stocks that you've mentioned to us as deep value. Anything more you would like to add to this list?
I think Sheila Foams I remembered, Responsive Industries, etc. I don't remember. Have I told them to you?
I have a list of deep value stocks that from sensible people that I keep a list of. Somebody else might have mentioned Responsive, but I remember Polyplex, Sheela Foam, and maybe Gulf Oil as well. Was that yours?
No, Gulf Oil wasn't mine. I had recommended Coforge sometime back to you. I think that's a story that I still continue to believe in long term.
Yes. Of course. I have Coforge on my list. So SFL, Coforge, and of course Polyflex are from your side. So that's what it is, Sakshi. And it's a tearing hurry on Cochin Shipyard. Change of number, now 2000. Garden Reach, record high 1526. And of course Hindustan Aeronautics, till about 1 hour ago it was below 5000. Now it's above 5100. That's a good strength that's coming in. And Sakshi, there is no stopping M&M, record high, now 2861, 2.2% higher. What are you watching? 21 minutes left for trade.
A whole host of stocks that are touching all-time highs. OFSS that we've discussed, Oracle Financial is at an all-time high. Dixon Tech we touched, it's an all-time high. Siemens is up by about 5% again at an all-time high. Chola Mandalam Finance is again up at an all-time high. Of course, a whole host of sugar stocks will be either at 52-week highs and all-time highs. So Praj is one. So we're looking at all of these stocks that are sharply buzzing in trade. Let's ask On the sugar space specifically, to Sharadji as well, sugar space, is that interesting to you, sir? Because a whole host of analysts are now saying that this is going to be in momentum right ahead of the budget. There are several triggers, ethanol blending that could come in the budget announcement on that front. MSP hike is something that farmers are really expecting at this point in time. So maybe that buzz is really playing into this entire theme. How are you looking at this?
Well, I think it's now not really that much of an interesting sector. When you started with ethanol blending earlier, it was certainly an advantage for these companies, and the regulatory environment was also changing in terms of the working capital block they had to put in to get sugarcane and get the payments, etc. But now I think more or less the broader structure is in place. So year on year, you're not looking at so much improvement. The blending hike obviously is a one-time trigger that would play out for these companies. But what kind of flexible technology we adopt over the long term is something we would like to see. And I don't think blending beyond a point is going to be a thing that will happen at a very fast pace and will happen gradually over a longer period. On top of that, internationally, sugar prices have been correcting, and I don't think the demand side pull for sugar is that smart anyway. So I don't think it's a very attractive business to be in, barring of course Balrampur Chini. The diversification that they are doing puts them in good stead. So these businesses will more or less balance out each other, say over the next 1.5 year, and give you steady rate numbers. Some euphoria here and there ahead of the budget because of this new minister coming in and announcing something regarding ethanol blending that could take them a bit higher. But beyond that, I don't think they will be sustaining momentum to a much higher level. But Balrampur could be a good level based on the diversification into a new product line, the capex that they are doing. So if you extend your horizon to 18 to 24 months, maybe Balrampur could be a good bet. But rest of the stocks, I think maybe momentum wise, you can trade them for the short term for an event based thing. But investment wise, I would not be willing to buy them at these levels.
Okay. How about the power space, sir? Are you looking at that keenly as well? Again, we are seeing NTPC's Power Grid, Coal India come back in action, PFC REC's back in action, even the other energy names like Hitachi Energy or maybe a GETND, they're also all buzzing in trade. How are you looking at this entire power come energy space?
See, all the stories you are saying at different trigger points. I think for PFC, RAC, obviously, if you are happy with the 10 to 15% kind of annualized return over the next 3 to 4 years, then they make sense. You could get into them. But if you are entering into them expecting that you would have a repeat of what you have seen over the last, 18 to 24 months, there is high probability you would be disappointed because the price to book multiple has come down to median levels. Uh, what kind of improvement they register? I think even if we consider 15-20% kind of growth on the gross advances level for these companies, with not much pressure on the NPS side, even then they would continue to trade at these valuations roughly unless and until there is a smart uptick in terms of numbers. And unlike banks, I think there is no service charge income that they can, ancillary income to interest that these guys can get into. So I don't think it's a very sensible way to get into these stocks if you're expecting the returns that you've got. If you're happy with 10-15% over the next 3 to 4 years per annum, then I think you can certainly get into these stocks. Regarding Hitachi, I think that's a very interesting story. It has a lot of triggers, and if you read about the company, totally they're into every space that could excite you to buy into the stock. But now after this run up, especially over the last 6 months, I think leaves little room, to add. Even if some very positive surprises do come in, you might have to extend your horizon to at least 4 to 5 years to make money out of this idea now. So I think it's fully discounting nearly 2 3 years. So not much upside should be available from these valuations. Coal India, I think you could play on the dividend yield side of it, and still valuations are not very expensive. But my only flip point is that commodity, there is a problem in case commodities start coming down. Once Europe settles into the new coal power thing and everything, internationally, there are no triggers for additional coal demand, and gradually that should come down. So I think that could play as a spoil sport for this. Though right now no one seems to bother about it, and the PSU saga is very strong. Regarding companies like NTPC Power Grid, I think NTPC, I would say, is fairly to fully valued. The trigger could be the listing of the EV, the renewable energy arm. That could help them a bit, but valuation wise, I think it's fully valued at current prices. I don't see much upside. And Power grid, you said power grid, yeah. So power grid, long term, I'm very bullish. I think a lot of T&D expenditure needs to be done. Power grid being the nodal authority, we have a lot of work to do there. But again, at 325, 30, these prices, I don't think there's much scope of appreciation over an 18 to 24 months. So keep your buying range in a staggered fashion. Say every 5 to 10% drop, try to accumulate this till a 15 to 20% drop in case you get it. Though the PSU sentiment right now is such that it would be hard to get. But I think this is a steady story which you can add for the next, 10, 15 years kind of story. But at these valuations, it's a bit tough. If you're looking at 1.5, 2 years, I think it doesn't really make sense.
Right. Sakshi, last 15 minutes are left, and the index is tantalizingly close to 23,400. Let's hope that the close is somewhere like 23,430, 440, so that the weighted average close can be above 23,400. All of us in the market live on eternal hope, and I am the most optimistic of fellows. So let's see how it goes. But
we're keeping our fingers crossed, Shell, for that 400 par to happen this time around today.
इतनी आसानी से नहीं होगा, 3 दिन से तो कोशिश कर रहे हैं, कभी 440 से वापस, कभी 411 से वापस, कभी 415 से वापस. Anyway, I mean, like I said, there is an inevitability to it that it will cross 23,400. The point is, does it cross when we want it to, or does it cross when we have lost hope? So it will definitely cross 23,400. That is for sure. But Sakshi, it could have easily done it if you have changed 5 stocks in the Nifty and replaced it with HAL, Garden Reach, Cochin Shipyard, BDL and BEML. अब तक तो 28,000 हो चुका होता. But such is life. What can be done? Record high on Masgda, record high on Garden Reach, record high on Oracle Finance, and on very, 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 very smart volumes. Record high on Praj Industries as well. So a great day if you are a defense buff. And you remember, Sakshi, we had talked about that HDFC Defense Fund. That net asset value has also hit a record high. So that's how it is. What's catching my fancy is Mahindra and Mahindra. Sharad ji, what's happening? मतलब 2821 रुपए. It's the most consistent performer on the Nifty, and one would imagine that people would go after aspirational vehicles such as Jaguar Land Rover from the Tata stable, such as the high-end which one is that, Defender from the Tata. But here is an SUV maker, consistent record highs.
In Delhi, you always talk about the bigger cars, which look like hunky-dory. Rest of the cities, you don't really want to have such big cars. It's a heck of a problem to even park it in peak hours. But yeah, I think, but still, I think the aspirational part that you're talking for the larger masses to get into that zone and buy a Defender or a JLR is still some way far off. At least I think over the next decade, maybe most people would get into that. But right now, I think you are still happy with a 20 lakh, 30 lakh car. Even that's an aspirational thing for most Indians. So I think the 10 lakh to 15 lakh bucket is the most affordable part for most Indians. The higher middle income group would most probably oscillate to the 30, 35 lakh kind of zone. So I think, yeah, you can be happy. You can think that maybe, yes, everyone wants to buy a JLR. Aspirationally, everyone wants to buy that. But I think the affordability and the type of features that Mahindra is providing at the entry points, like XUV 700, I believe even today is one of the most sought after cars within that segment. So there are many segment firsts. Similarly, the new EV launch has seen a lot of segment first and a lot of demand. Thar has seen a lot of demand. So I think the new launches are something that you look at. Even Tata has some launches down the line, at least 5 to 6, even the Avenir thing. So I think new launches and the success of that will drive. And M&M, for M&M, one thing was in its favor, that valuations were not very high at the starting point. And even the earning expectation was not very steep. The broader expectation was around 100 rupee kind of earning for the company, and it was trading at what, around 18-20 times. So from there, the run up has happened, and I think most of the new launches would be successful. Even the tractors business should do well in the long term with an infra, with a rural focus that the government might have. So I think all those three things are playing up, and how they play up this market and how much further they can ramp it up in terms of the EV portfolio largely. I think that's a very untouched place right in India, with Tata being the only dominant player. So once I think M&M ramps it up, there could be a lot of demand for their products, and product-wise, they have seen a lot of success. So I think even valuation-wise, now maybe it's a bit fully valued to stretched at 28 times. But I think a 10-15% earning growth upgradation can happen anytime, depending on the type of success the new launches see. So maybe 100 rupee EPS becomes 115, 120. Then you don't really look so expensive. You trade at 20-25 times, then maybe up to 30, up to 3,000 bucks. It does not really look very expensive because the rest of the pack is also run up.
True. Sakshi, I think there is a massive momentum rally happening on Garden Reach at 1558. This is now up 14%. Very, very sharp move coming into this particular counter. So far, above 736 crores worth of transactions have happened. Please keep this in mind. Hindustan Aeronautics is now 5117. This is up 4.5%. Strong rally coming into BHEL, 3.2%. I'd like to mark some record highs that we may have missed earlier. Escorts, 3% higher, 42.48. Sobha Developers, this is news led, writes at 20% lower than Wednesday's close. Today the counter has added about 4.7%, and the rights is priced at, let me tell you, 1651. So the more the cash market gets expensive, the higher will be the demand for rights. Please keep that in mind. We have Apar Industries at a record high, 85.40, up 4.5%. Newly listed Home First, 1018, 5.3% higher. Forging company, Sakshi, the name itself is so good, Happy Forge, 1200, 3.2% higher. And how can we forget Bosch, 32,425, a fresh record high. On its way out as the market is about to close, Gujarat Gas 4% higher, 635. Sakshi, what are you watching?
Slowly and gradually, it's BHEL that has also climbed above the 300 mark today. Shell 3.5% of an up move that can be seen on this one again. On BHEL, what is your view, Sharadji? We have seen great rally unfold, but can fresh investors still take a bet on this one?
I think in terms of comparative valuation, maybe yes, but I think that a lot of earnings improvement can happen. The order book has swelled over the last 1.5 years. Though initially around 100 rupees, even I was not very convinced that this kind of order book swelling can happen with the stock. But it has performed very well, and right now the forward expectations are what, 7-8 rupees, maybe 2 years down the line, the company can report in terms of earnings. So it's still trading at roughly, 8, 5, 6. So roughly what, 30 times, 30, 35 times. So it's not very cheap. So I would be happy buying an L&T compared to a BHEL. Because even the thermal power demand, the push could be temporary, maybe over the next 2 to 3 years. Beyond that, it would be very difficult from them to sustain that unless until the diversification that they're doing into various things does play off, whether it's coal-bed methane plants or something like that. So I think roughly it would be fully valued at these prices. It is better you buy into something like an L&T, which is much more diversified and a much larger entity. And valuation wise, I would be more comfortable buying an L&T at current prices.
Okay. Valuation wise, you'd like to buy L&T at the current levels. How about the move within the IT space? Now, the IT index is up by 1% again today, and sharp move could be seen on, say, an Emphasis, which is up 2.5%, LTI, Coforge, Tech Mahindra, Wipro. These are the stocks that are buzzing in trade. Your own sense of how are you approaching the IT names now, sir?
I've been bullish on them. I think they provided an excellent opportunity at the lower end of the band, particularly stocks like LTIM, Tech Mahindra, Coforge, or even an Emphasis or a Mastech on the smaller side. I think companies were giving you an excellent buying opportunity. I think if I would continue to be bullish on an LTIM, Tech Mahindra, and Coforge on the frontline names. I think the type of targets that Coforge is putting forward, if they can achieve it, it could be a multi-bagger kind of story from current levels. Similarly, I think LTIM has a lot of synergy benefits that it should see over the next, 1.5, 2 years. Tech Mahindra with the new management coming in and focus on BFSI and the way they have put in targets. Maybe it takes, 6 to 8 months to show up in terms of numbers. But I think the strategy of, trying to get more business from the group companies, which we have seen has done wonders for a TCS or a Tata Tech. I think Tech Mahindra should be able to do that easily. So these three companies, I think, should benefit, and if discretionary spend starts to pick up as interest rates mood is much somber in the US, I think there is a high probability that even companies like Emphasis and Mastech should benefit substantially out of that.
Okay. So that's the move coming in, and the view on IT space stocks now. The other space that we've not asked you today is the cement pack. Of course, with the news coming in right in the morning that Adani Group may be getting ready with a $3 billion war chest to now start acquiring mid and small size cement companies to probably overtake Ultratech. How are you looking at the entire cement story built up, and what are you really looking forward to now within this space?
See, some of the smaller companies, I think the valuations are a bit attractive. Typically, JK Lakshmi Cement, I think the operational metrics are very good for them. And at current valuations, it is very inexpensive, even inexpensive to say an Heidelberg. But the flip-flop side could be that Heidelberg might be an acquisition target. So that is why you might see Heidelberg go up more, maybe because of that happening. But if you have to consider as an investment, I think JK Lakshmi Cement is good. But if you are considering this angle and you want to speculate on the fact that maybe Adani comes forward and tries to do a deal, I think then Heidelberg becomes a more probable target for doing that, and hence the premium is justifiable. So because the deal should happen at a much higher rate compared to the valuation at which these stocks are trading. So that way you can look at a Heidelberg or an India Cement. But purely on valuation front, I think JK Lakshmi Cement is a better bet. Similarly, I think in the larger pack, obviously, Dalmia Bharat, I've already said, is my preferred pick. And in the medium-sized ones, I think Aramco Cement is a good bet to have on your side. I think valuations are attractive, has seen some correction, and it's a decently managed company.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, Sharaji, as always, it's such a pleasure to host you and to listen to how deep value operates in a trending bull market. Thank you so much for your time. And of course, we've added 4 more shares to our list of deep value stocks thanks to you today. Among them, of course, Dalmia Bharat Cement. Thank you so much once again. With that, ladies and gentlemen, let's now start wrapping up the market. The Nifty, well, 23,400 is not there, but we are at 23,399. Let's take it as given. A close above 23,400 is a victory for bulls. That hasn't happened. And the resistance at 23,500 on the monthly option charts has gone stronger. Tomorrow will be the first day of a fresh weekly stance on Nifty options. The expiry has ended with decent 76-point uptick. The Nifty held on to 50% of its early morning gains and is now closing in the green. The Bank Nifty, which began a fresh weekly expiry today, is flat. Most of the action is concentrated today on the IT index, 1% higher, 354, 34,900 for you. Stocks such as Oracle Finance, Persistent Systems, Emphasis, L&T Mindtree, Coforge, and many of the smaller mid caps such as KPIT and Birlasoft, Tech Mahindra, and Infosys also added to the momentum. A sector that refuses to go away from the radar of traders is defense. A record high on Cochin Shipyard above 22,000, a very strong close on BEL 303. You have Garden Reed Shipbuilders, again a record closing high 1569. This is up 14%. There is no stopping Hindustan Aeronautics, 4.5% higher at 5133. The top traded counter, ladies and gentlemen, today was Oracle Finance. It's a rare event that in the NSE 500 none of the nifty stocks managed to show that much of momentum. That goes on to prove that the market is now taking a rest, waiting for the holiday on Monday to be over, and then from beyond that probably you will see fresh action coming into Nifty and Bank Nifty. This is what I have watched, and of course there's no let up in the sweetness in the market. That's the sugar space. Sakshi.
Okay, so there we have it. The screen is frozen at 23,399. Like you had said, Shell, it's very difficult for us to see that 23,400 just yet. So 77 point higher on the Nifty. Let's hope this happens tomorrow, because after that there is a 3-day holiday, and so that at least we'll go back home satisfied. Otherwise, we'll have to wait for the next week to unfold all that as well. So it's a brilliant number right there, 233,999.5 in front of you on your screen. So we'll continue to watch out for what comes forward from here within the markets. But all in all, it's several pockets that have actually made a lot of money, newer highs. So markets in fine fettle even with that move coming in on the Nifty. With that, viewers, it's thank you from both Shell and me. We'll continue to track markets for you, when it comes to overnight cues, and we'll be back tomorrow morning. But do stay tuned. Business Today Television has your screen packed with a whole lot of action right up next on your screens. Welcome, you're watching Business Today Television. I'm Sakshi Batra, and this is BTS, that's Behind the Scenes, a show where we share a sneak peek into the